transfer over. We must start from here. Hello, everybody. So Poppy Playtime, we just took a look at chapters 1 and 2, unexpectedly, okay? This was meant to be a lore stream for chapter 1. Chapter 1 was kind of shorter. We decided to go for both. Now, the plan is to try to learn some basics about Poppy Playtime. I don't know the first thing about it outside of now having seen the first 2 chapters, and so I must wonder what the lore is. I think a good place to start, or maybe a good place to just go in general, could be to take a look at the Poppy Playtime. If we look at theories, this could be a cool way to go about it. Is to do this, maybe take some notes, maybe chat about it a little bit, and see what did I notice, what did I miss. I would say, I guess, game theory is where I go to, because that's what I was kind of brought up on to an extent, or experienced a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's from. And they have, let's see, Playtime in order. Let's check. Okay, so as an example, okay, Poppy Playtime, the bloody history of Poppy Playtime. I wonder what this is. If this is like a background of something or other. Poppy Playtime. Chapter 3 is here, which means there's only a few in chapter 1 through 2. And so we could get kind of a rundown, a basis for what we're looking at here. Let's take a look.
Literature Club solved. Bendy and the Ink Machine solved. Five Nights
and
at
I'll
Freddy's
pull up.
Solved.
I'll write some notes.
Then kind of retcon
as well.
Solved again. I don't know. It's kind of solved.
But maybe before we get right into this, I mean, we're jumping right into this, okay? But before we get into that, just briefly, characters that I know, you know what I mean? Characters that I know. We have Huggy Wuggy, right? Huggy Wuggy is our blue sort of protagonist or icon for the whole series. In my mind, I see Poppy Playtime, I think Huggy Wuggy. It's kind of almost a problem. Okay, what's Poppy? Oh yeah, Poppy's the doll. Poppy is the doll. That's our other character, Poppy herself. Probably last name Playtime. Who knows? But Huggy Wuggy and Poppy are 2. Then you have. I mean, I was told that there's like Kissy Missy or something, but I don't feel like I really know her yet. But I'm aware that there is the pink character must be called that. I don't know what her lore is or how she plays into all this. And then, or assumedly I don't know. And then we have, who else? Let me think. Was there anyone else? Oh, Mommy. I mean, of course, Mommy. And Mommy gets kind of decimated there, but she does okay. She handles herself well. Very threatening. Okay, but okay. And then who's left at that point? Who's left, or what are we looking at? We've got. I mean, the prototype is mentioned, right? Prototype is mentioned in the orange tape, I guess. Orange tape, and I guess we could also say Huggies in tubes. Oh, and there's one other character, which is the puppy centipede. Puppapede? I don't know. Is that right? Puppapede? Let's try. And I think that might be it. Oh, I mean, I suppose you could also, if you want to, you could also count the bee character. And is there anyone else in Poppy Playtime in these first 2 chapters that I met? There's the bee character. I suppose there's the other things on the signs. There's a robot, I don't know if these are actually characters in the but there's a robot. There's the cat that we feed, like, endlessly. Feed cat. Okay. I mean, like, these are very abstract characters. The dino, yeah, the dinosaurus, or the hope he didn't saurus or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So we got a few characters in mind, and then we can come into this kind of with more of a knowledge of
remains to be seen. Anyway,
what's going on.
There's a new challenger, Poppy Playtime, and with only 1 chapter available, this thing is ripe for the theorizing.
Yeah, what do people think when chapter 1 came out?
Kill us in the past, but it's never been anything like this.
Okay.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where today I wanted to start off by introducing you to our latest piece of merch. Say hello to the Maddie Pally doll. Maddie Pally, the perfect friend for every theory.
Oh, and I guess I can...
But hey, that's just a theory. And that's not all he can say.
Very
it's
nice.
Actually full of all the favorite catchphrases from...
Wait, was there anyone else? Oh, there's characters! I didn't even think about characters. In Poppy Playtime, we have Ludwig. We have Elliot Ludwig. Right? Because he's looking at chapter 1, and I'm like, what's really in chapter 1? Oh, yeah, Elliot Ludwig's in chapter 1. and like 3 other people I don't remember the names of, though.
Coming to get you, Matt Pat.
Oh, okay. Very funny. Who changed the voice box?
No one did, Matt Pat.
Okay.
I'm going to kill you, Matt Pat, and that's no theory.
And we're done with that one. Why do I always end up with all the creepy possessed stuff? Guess it's just kind of the brand now. But hey, if you like all things creepy, why not hit that subscribe button? If you don't, well, let's just say that play, check. Horrific childhood playthings, check.
Yep, there's Dino.
Hidden lore sprinkled throughout.
And there's so much lore.
We're gonna look at the first chapter,
but I don't know any of those characters that well.
What's really going on in this game and what's gonna be coming in the future installments. And let me tell you this, while it may certainly look similar to the dozens of indie horror games that we've seen in the past, this one has some unexpected twists that make it all the more surprising.
I think I watched Duck Season. That was a cool one.
And I gotta say, for the first time in what seems like forever, there's
and Bendy.
no
of course,
AI
Bendy.
trying to steal your identity to escape their video game prison by hopping into your body. No matter what else this story entails, big props on being creative on that one. When we boot up Chapter 1, we're told that we're taking on the role of an ex-employee of the Playtime company, finally returning to the factory years after everyone mysteriously disappeared inside. If that's not a theorist invite, I don't know what is. What happened? Why are we the ones who remain? One click into this game and already there are so many questions circulating around. So, to start our adventure, we receive a note informing us that these missing employees never actually left the building, alongside a VHS tape that introduces us to the titular character, Poppy Playtime.
Right, that's another character. Gotta keep that in mind real fast. Okay. We have an angry guy character. An angry guy who, by the way, Sir Poops a lot, is the symbol of, sort of, maybe, because angry guy, Sir Poops a lot, is on the screen when angry guy is talking. Is that a coincidence?
Hair that smells like poppies, weirdly realistic eyes, and the ability to have actual conversations.
She is the first truly intelligent doll in the world. A little girl can talk to her. Poppy gives her answers.
What you gotta say is a whole lot of red flags right off the bat. I've played enough horror games over the years to know that when inanimate objects start talking to you, you start running in the other direction. But I don't know, it's a game. What else am I gonna do? I'm curious, so off to the factory we go. Right off the bat, we find a giant version of the popular Playtime company mascot, Huggy Wuggy. Huh, those cold dead eyes aren't ominous at all. Sure, nothing bad's gonna come from this guy. Now, watching playthroughs of Poppy Playtime, there is one thing that immediately stands out. Everyone high-fives Huggy.
High five.
Oh, yeah.
High five, buddy!
You can't help yourself.
High five, man. Let's go.
Even me. High five, Huggy. Boom! Apparently, there's just some sort of primal reflex in our monkey brains. Raised hand equals high five. From there, we unlock the second hand of our GrabPack. We get to build one of the toys, and look, it's that Muppet reject that we met earlier, except now he's trying to kill us. Oh no.
Okay.
Who could have seen that one coming? I mean, to be fair, it is a legitimately terrifying encounter. Once we manage to escape the nightmare by throwing him down into the factory abyss, we see a large flower on the wall, along with all sorts of warnings about why we shouldn't go through that door. But
yeah, this is almost where it ends, right? Like, there's really not a lot of content Chapter 1.
And find Poppy herself resting inside a glass case. Without any forethought or concern for our own well-being, we rip open the case because, of course, we do. Do horror games not exist in these universes? We almost died in the arms of this giant Sesame Street reject. Let's just make our presence known to the creepy living doll now. The lights flash, Poppy's eyes open, and we get the final line of the chapter.
You opened my case.
And that's it. Big old cliffhanger for the next installment. But is it just me, or did it feel like there was something more going on here? Who am I kidding? Of course there's something more going on here. This is a modern indie horror game. There's hidden lore all over.
Oh yeah, Lake Pierre. Yeah, right.
Let's rewind a bit to take a closer look at Huggy Wuggy himself. We know from the opening placard that the toy was made in 1984 and became Playtime Company's most popular mascot, but how do you go from this to this?
1984.
Toys just don't come to life, unless Toy Story was right all along.
1984. Yeah.
What is this thing?
Because they don't. I feel like they intentionally avoid giving you where in the 1900s it is. But I guess there was a thing that said 1984.
But the game actually gives us clues that he's something else entirely.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, visually, it makes sense.
Horrifying than we could have ever anticipated.
Technology at the time.
If you're unfortunate enough to get killed by Huggy during the chase, you get a randomized death screen with a message that ranges from "It's not your time" to "Don't let them inside." But mixed in there is the chance of you seeing one that reads "EXP 1006. Isn't he wonderful?" colorful. This would suggest that someone is asking us what we think of their experiment, the monster that just killed us. This isn't the only time we see Huggy referred to by this name either. Throughout the game, we discover VHS tapes with recordings from various factory employees. The last one you receive is
that gonna matter?
Unknown, and on it we hear this message.
Final log in relation. Experiment 1006. The prototype.
Wait.
Operation
So is
evidently within his skill set, though still missing. Today's events are no doubt in relation to him. We must forge onwards in the name of science, whether those who are beneath us understand it or not.
So he's an experiment within the facility that escaped and clearly created an incident within the factory, but this still doesn't explain why I think his creation is different.
Experiment 1006 is, they're saying, is Huggy Wuggy is the insinuation here. Okay.
Well, in the trailer for the game, we get
But then
look at Huggy
there's prototype.
towards us while bits of text
Or is that the same?
flash up on screen. These messages seem to be excerpts from documents of Playtime code, but before you can read them, most of the text disappears to reveal.
Or maybe Huggy Wuggy is like, what do I want to say about this? Maybe Huggy Wuggy is like one specific version of himself. Because there's all those other ones too, like that were in the pipes and everything in chapter 2. There were a ton of Huggy Wuggies. So maybe he's a specific one that's different.
Most of the vanishing messages cover pretty standard stuff, mostly about GrabPack safety. That is, until we get to the 43-second mark of the trailer, where suddenly we have a giant wall of darkened rolling text happening behind the main message. Hold the phone! Things that are hidden in the dark? What is this, a 2015 FNAF 4 teaser image? So, true to form, I do what I do best. I lower the contrast, I up the brightness, and voila! We got this. Experiment 1006, the prototype. He seems serviceable as the prime example for the type of vessel which we're trying to create. Despite his digestive tract being wired properly, the prototype finds no necessity for sustenance, unlike the others. All other experiments can only survive while subsisting on much larger portions. Huggy, as well as these other experiments, has a digestive system. That's not something an animatronic possessed by the soul of a dead child would need. It leads me to believe that Huggy is a living organic creature, not just a stuffed toy turned sentient. Although, if we're reading this right, Huggy just kills for fun. He doesn't need to eat, unlike the others. Plus, if we take a look at this scene where you cause the walkway to collapse, Huggy falls into the factory below, hitting 2 pipes along the way. Notice anything unusual? Here's the before and after shot to make it easy for you. You see, there's blood on the pipes. Huggy bleeds. He is definitely organic, a literal living, breathing monster. But how are they turning toys into organic creatures? For that, let's actually turn our attention to the perfect.
I know this one. Me, teacher, me. It's with Poppy. It's with what, like Poppy oil or something, and the gel.
herself.
Yeah.
When we're introduced to her in that initial VHS tape, we're told that she's perfect. She has hair that smells like poppies, which, side note, I looked into, and it turns out that poppies don't really have that much of a smell. Unless, of course, you're talking about opium poppies, in which case you're opening up a whole lot of messed up there. In the olden days, opium was used to relax and help you to sleep. No wonder this thing was a hit, especially with the parents, but I'm getting myself sidetracked here. Anyway, the important part of this ad is that a child can have conversations with Poppy and that she can talk back to give answers, which seems like a strange level of AI for a company that was around during the 1950s.
Oh yeah, responsive answers, not just words.
AI. In the teaser for Poppy Playtime, we see a tutorial on how to look after your Poppy doll. Near the end of the video,
it's so weird because like Huggy and these other ones that are so monstrous, it's like, okay, they've got maybe fabric on the outside of them, but they are actually fleshy and weird on the inside. But their teeth, it kind of makes sense, but Poppy herself looks like a doll and has these giant doll eyes. For her to be organic is really weird. Oh,
dripping with blood.
I don't know if I even noticed that
to believe that these
when I
toys
played.
Are actually all organic. But with
That's
Poppy, we
freaky.
can actually go one step further and figure out how she's been made organic. You see, the hardest secret to find in Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 is a pink VHS tape right before the final chase. Wait. Oh my gosh, is that it?
Oh, yeah.
No way!
That is, oh yeah, that'd be, yeah. That's hard to find.
Wow! I'm assuming the game really doesn't want me to do this, but I don't care.
Okay.
I found the lore. Oh no! If you manage to find it before getting locked out, the tape shows you an interview.
That'd be crazy to see from the bottom.
Stella Graber. She's a woman obsessed with living forever, wanting to be more like a child and longing to bring joy to children like her toys did for her.
Your body just gets older and older, and then you die.
Yeah, right. She's the sort of depressive lady that then says something kind of
This take
less so.
feels really random in the grand scheme of things. Like, why would we be shown this? Well, it starts to make much more sense in the context of living organic toys. Based on the way that she talks, Stella would be the perfect candidate for some experiments that Playtime were running. I believe that they used employees, specifically Stella, to make Poppy. Not just transferred her consciousness either, but used her physical body, their digestive systems, their brains, and in the case of Poppy, Stella's eyes. It seems like an extreme leap to make, but look at Poppy's eyes in the video. Tell me that those aren't human. You don't just add capillaries to your cute little doll's eyes. This would also align with the whole bleeding thing. Organic bodies made of flesh and organs that can bleed. It's also worth mentioning that the voice actor for Stella is the same as the voice actor for Poppy. This may just be because of limited voice actors, but it also feels like
weird
an
coincidence
detail to call out. If I'm right about Stella and Poppy being one and the same, I think it gives us a pretty good idea of what her part is in the wider story. The general consensus online is that Poppy is going to be the big bad. I mean, the game's got her name on it after all, but for me, I'm not so sure. I don't believe that Stella would be mad about being turned into a toy. I think that, honestly, she'd be delighted. She would not be delighted, however,
because she was talking about immortality.
Listen to that final line again when we open the glass case at the end of chapter 1.
You opened my case.
It sounds like a confused, but thankful response.
Yeah, like why would you do that?
She hasn't been able to go out into the world and bring joy to children. It's not much of an existence living inside a tiny box. Believe me. I know, doing this many videos every week, I've become very used to the confined space of my recording closet.
Don't worry, Pat. You'll get out of there eventually.
It's gonna be the rescue that she's been longing for. Some of the death messages also lead me to believe that Poppy isn't trying to kill us. Look again at these screens. I need you alive. It's too early to die. Death isn't permanent. Who is talking to us in these screens? Well, I think it's Poppy. She's the only other character that we've been introduced to so far, so if it's not her, it kinda has to be someone else that we have.
Yeah, it's she's the one that like talks to us, and she's also pretty on our side in general.
Really met yet.
That makes sense.
Calling out to us. She needs us, and it's not just for her sake either. Another death screen reads, "More lives are at risk than just yours." Whoever this person is, they're hoping that we can help all of the vanished employees. And it doesn't end there. There's one final death screen to call out. This one, which looks like somebody deaths their keyboard repeatedly, but it actually appears to be Cyrillic.
I think I saw I don't know if it's the same one, but this is one of the ones I saw in chapter 2 that made me think like, oh, did I not lose? Did I actually win? Because it was in a moment where maybe I was supposed to fall down. I hadn't tested it yet, and so I thought maybe I was alive, but no, it was just apparently this.
For those of you who don't know, Cyrillic is the alphabet used for Slavic languages. Places like Russia, Bulgaria, the Ukraine, you know, the countries that give new meaning to the word cold. Who knows, maybe the languages all look this way with the extra accents and swoops because people trying to write them are shivering all the time. Anyway, for it being Cyrillic, it actually looks to be a simple...
You don't speak... Veterans, tell me what this says. JSHDH DHDH is the same as the weekend and the same thing as A. What does this mean for me? Welcome, though. I appreciate you coming around. All right, let's see. Cool stream. Thanks. Cheetah. Yeah. Appreciate both of you. Not me.
With different characters representing different characters from the Latin alphabet that we're more familiar with. Notice these two in a row right here. Probably EE or OO.
Glad to have you.
Using that as our base and trying lots of different combinations. We can't come to a definitive conclusion. There just isn't enough letters here, but stay, they need help certainly fits the pattern that we're seeing in the letters, which again hints at the fact that these are people, ex-employees trapped inside the bodies of the monsters looking to escape. All of this becoming our...
Yeah, I thought it might be the kids because they talk about the orphans, but ex-employees, and I'm an employee as well. Does that... And I don't see myself. I mean, maybe, you always have to wonder. You always have to wonder, am I a monster too? You know, maybe not. But certainly I'm using these weird hand things. I had a theory as I was playing with the hand things that maybe they themselves are also, like, maybe the reason that they're so accurate, or like they can grab things from a distance like they can so well and pull me around. Like maybe these are just robotic, mechanical, but maybe they have a little bit of the poppy gel mixture in them too.
Maybe she'll help us solve puzzles by getting into spaces that we can't, or she'll be able to distract the monsters while we progress, or she'll just be our guide through the factory maze, kind of like GLaDOS the potato from Portal 2. But in some small way, I think that she's helping us both save herself and all the others.
I think didn't I call Mommy GLaDOS? But yeah, she kind of...
While discussing
no, I think Mommy's more like GLaDOS, really.
others. So did the VHS tape. We know that Huggy is experiment 1006, which, if this scientist has any respect for logical procedure, would imply that he's actually the 6th experiment they've created. Sure, they call him the prototype, but he's gained that name because, as the trailer said, he seems serviceable as the prime example for the type of vessel that we're trying to create. So they thought they'd got the experiment right that time, but clearly there were others before him, all with cognitive ability, but these ones are going to be hungrier. They're going to be more bloodthirsty than Huggy. And gotta admit, he was already...
I mean, can anything be more bloodthirsty than this? I don't know if I believe it.
Pretty bad. So then who or what came before? Well,
I mean, that dog thing was crazy, but at least it could slow itself down. He was wrong there, not sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, there was so little info at the beginning. Like, that first chapter was, Miss Huggy is Missy, right? That's based on what I'm being told here. Miss Huggy is Missy. But yeah, Cat Bee, the Candy Cat, the Boogie Bot. Okay, Boogie Bot, I definitely saw the robot later on as well. I wonder if we'll meet the robot or not. Okay, Boogie Bot's the name of that one. Interesting. And then Brawn is the dino. Okay, so let's see. Where did I put? Dinosaurus is Brawn. I will put like a little star there. And then the robot is the Boogie Bot. Well, these are recurring characters. Who knows? Okay, the Feed Cat. Cat Bee's different, but I called Cat Bee just Bee, I think. So we'll say Cat Bee. And then Candy Cat is the one that you feed. The Candy Cat was honestly the funniest, maybe the funniest situation so far. You just keep feeding and feeding and feeding. Okay. And Huggy, sure.
1006 with 5 other toys available. I think it's likely that they're going to be
no worries. I mean, it's
show up in future chapters. But
it's just a name.
Chapter 2, I believe, will be Cat Bee. Why? Well, because as much as there are references to all the other toys throughout the factory, Cat Bee's the one.
Cat Bee does keep coming up, and you see Cat Bee all the time, but
the storeroom tape, we
no luck on that one.
Which is covered in Cat Bee parts. Once we crawl through the vents, we end up at an assembly line where we then proceed to activate and create a Cat Bee toy. The others have all been background characters to the chapter, but we actively
That's fair, I suppose.
It seems like a metaphor.
I don't know, maybe we'll see a Cat Bee later, but
that points me in the direction of Cat Bee being our next big bad. But all of it leaves me with one final question. Clearly, Poppy put Playtime on the map in the 1960s, based on the vintage style of the Poppy ad and the fact that the ad is actually in color, which is something that wasn't available until the 1960s. Huggy Wuggy was invented in 1984, after Poppy. So if Poppy was a human experiment and she was perfect, then why are Huggy and all the other experiments then monsters? Well, my theory is that Poppy was a human experiment done back in the 1960s and was a roaring success, but the secret to how it was done was kept under wraps. And as dolls came out of fashion, the company had to evolve, creating new colorful toys like Candy Cat and Huggy Wuggy. We can see based on the toy packaging that this went on for some time. Huggy's packaging is very similar to those of the 1980s. Boogie Bot and Candy Cat look much more like toys from the early
old first theories when knowing quite a bit of future story. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know a lot because I've only seen like 1 and 2, but it's funny to see how different 2 is from the prediction.
But it wasn't enough to keep the company afloat, and so someone in the factory decided to pursue new innovations to bring Playtime Co. back to its former glory.
But all things considered, like in terms of just raw information, there's a good amount here to work with. Okay.
Innovation is
ex-employee returning,
as we see in one of the death screens, without any knowledge of how they managed to successfully create Poppy.
I don't know who that guy is though. The scientist. I guess we can call him the scientist for now.
That would come to life, acting like pets for children, bring them joy. Once again, they succeed in creating something organic, but they miss the one human element that made the original Poppy experiment successful: willingness. Stella was the perfect subject. She seemed like she'd be over the moon with living forever as a child. However, our scientist may not have known about Stella and what made her, and therefore Poppy, special. I bet you that characters like the disgruntled storeroom worker Rich that we meet in the tapes are people that have been turned into.
Is Angry Guy Rich?
He doesn't seem all that pleased with the company making his.
Yeah, that's got to be Rich. Okay, Rich is Angry Guy.
They have a clean, sparkly outward image. Playtime don't tend to treat their employees very well. Wouldn't be too hard to believe that they saw the tape of Rich complaining and decided he needed to be disciplined.
Rich Avery?
In a very
what the heck?
Way.
How do they know? Oh, it probably said it on the tape.
Wonder of Stella or that natural love of toys, and so when he gets made into one, he becomes a monster. The experiment backfires and starts killing the employees. The scientist locked himself away in the same room that we found Poppy. She was patient zero, locked away in the case to protect and study her, until of course we come along and set her free. There you have it, friends. My predictions for Poppy Playtime. Was I right? Was I wrong? I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. But
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so Rich Avery. Okay, that's the angry guy. We have a name. I was thinking Sir Poops a lot might be a good name, to be honest, just because they did use that character for on the TV screen. We have Laith Pierre, Stella Gray. I don't know what it is. Stella Gray something, but Stella became Poppy. That makes sense. And then the scientist is pretty unknown still. What else from this? I mean, various different characters, I suppose. Mommy's Secret Army. That's something that's kind of interesting. Yeah, so Theory 2, I think we've got we got these ones, and then it's Chapter 3 we don't want to go to yet, because I don't know yet. Okay, we gotta play Chapter 3 upcoming, but Mommy's Secret Army, Poppy Playtime.
Last October, Poppy Playtime came onto the indie horror scene and took YouTube by storm. Felt like everybody was playing it.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, holy cow, right now.
High five, Huggy. Boom!
High five. High five, buddy.
High five, buddy!
High five?
Yeah, we got the endless high five sequence.
So of course,
let's go. I would say
you blew up my Twitter.
Oh, this is the trailer
my soul.
reaction and thoughts.
Hard pass. Last time we explored the old abandoned toy factory of Playtime Co., we walked away with two major predictions about where this franchise is headed. First, we concluded that some of the former employees were experimented on in order to create living toys
right.
to rip the flesh from your bones. Instead, here in Poppy Playtime, Stella's human desire to make children happy and live forever.
Well, okay, let me think about this. So this is the trailer sort of reaction. Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. This one would be the actual game broken down. Okay. Here we go.
So good to see you again. Well, not good, really. Don't say anything. Mommy knows. You thought you could just walk right in here, didn't you? As if nothing ever.
Not just one, but two. Hold on. Let me cut to a.
Well,
awesome stuff. Cool puzzles, thrilling chases, and an oversized plush toy failing to pull a lever.
Right.
The animation is so adorable. I could sit here and watch
it. Kind of freaked me out because I'm like, what happens once this thing goes up? Like, where do I go?
Collectible trophies that'll push you to the limits of your gamer senses.
Any secret trophies or anything that we see up here?
Any secret trophies?
Oh, that's tough. Oh, dude, that's tough. Yeah. Sometimes they're kind of right on the open though, and it's hard to notice them.
It's for the hidden notes and cryptic clues. Ladies,
you're looking in those secret spots.
Some lore to decipher. And spoiler alert, Poppy isn't who we thought she was. First, here's what you need to know to understand today's theory. Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 focused on us, the player, returning to an abandoned toy factory in order to save some employees that went missing there 10 years ago. We're told via a mysterious note that we have to find the flower. Several puzzles and one giant Muppet chase later, we find the flower in the form of a giant wall mural of a poppy. Inside is a replica of a house and a doll named Poppy Playtime, locked away inside of a glass case. And of course, we set her free without a second thought because players in video games have never seen a horror movie before. Anyway, Chapter 2 picks up immediately afterward. Poppy agrees to help us activate a train that'll help us get out of the factory. So much for wanting to help save those missing employees, but hey, if a creepy talking doll starts offering me ways to not be around the creepy talking doll, how am I gonna take that offer?
Yeah.
Of course,
I mean, she's not even the real problem. Yeah, it's Mommy's the real problem.
Stretchy toy spider takes Poppy hostage and forces us to play 3 minigames in her game station in order to unlock each part of the train's code. Eventually, we break out of her games, which causes her to go complete sick.
Crazy thing is, people say the third chapter is supposed to be the best one. I feel like those minigames were so fun. I'm excited because I feel like the minigames were so fun. Like that, I could see that being kind of a highlight. But
and chase us through a narrow escape sequence.
This part was tough.
Seen something like that before. In the end,
that sequence is a bit tough.
Grinder and her remains are dragged away by a mysterious claw. We rescue Poppy, get on the train, but surprise, surprise, she betrays us, crashing the train and forcing us even deeper into the factory. So those are the highlights from the chapter, but we're still left with a lot of overarching questions. Who are we? Where are these missing employees we're so concerned about? What's the true nature of the toys? And who's secretly pulling the strings behind all of this? Well, I think I have the answers to each and every one of those questions, and the last one is probably the best place to start. As I just talked about, after defeating Mommy, we see her remains get dragged away by a mysterious claw. No, not Burn Trap's claw, but also, yeah, kind of Burn Trap's claw. You see, the hand we see pull Mommy away is very different from all the other designs we've encountered in
it looks a lot like the mother's hand from Coraline. Just throwing it out there, even more so like that, like the spidery long claw shape.
So far, most of the toys that we fight are brightly colored, made of plastic or fur, and, you know, look like actual toys. This thing, though, is dark, mechanical, could poke your eye out. It's like an erector set on steroids.
You haven't seen Coraline, you gotta see Coraline, it's so good.
If you zoom in and enhance the image of the claw, you can actually make out that there's organic material mixed in there. Bones and maybe even some veins mixed in with the metallic parts. So yeah, the comparison to Springtrap, Burntrap, call them whatever you want, it isn't that much of a joke. But what is this biomechanic hybrid doing within the context of Poppy? Well, back in Chapter 1, we discovered the final VHS tape which cataloged the results of Experiment 1006, nicknamed the Prototype.
Final log. In relation, Experiment 1006. Prototype. Coordination and cooperation.
Yeah, last time he said that this was Huggy Wuggy.
The skill set of all other his type.
This, along with a death screen that said Experiment 1006 isn't he wonderful, led us to believe in a previous theory that our big blue boy Huggy Wuggy was the prototype, since, you know, he was kind of the only character that we met in Chapter 1.
There was not much in that chapter.
However, take a look at the hand on the TV screen that we see during that VHS recording. Look familiar? We see that hand appear again in yet another VHS tape in Chapter 2.
Log code 08502. In relation, Experiment 1006. The prototype. The prototype seems to possess an unprecedented level of...
Oh, I couldn't find this tape. I was looking and looking. This was one of the bigger ones I was looking for. Prototype seems to possess an unprecedented level of intelligence.
On that of all other test subjects, as well as an alarming willingness to commit violence. Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy, remains the optimal outcome due to his sufficient intelligence paired with maximum obedience.
Oh.
Obviously, this outright...
Hold on. Okay, so Huggy Wuggy is EXP 110... Was it 7? 1170. That's crazy. That's a lot in between.
Sufficient intelligence paired with...
It's not that... Maybe not that surprising, though, because we saw a ton of Huggy Wuggy duplicates. Like, there were so many more characters in this one than the last one. Just in terms of raw number of things. Like, they're not that interesting of characters. They don't really delve into them at all. We just poke at them when they're in the tubes. But still, there were a lot of characters, so maybe it makes sense, but...
Obviously, this outright tells us that Huggy isn't Experiment 1006, and that it's instead the owner of this mysterious claw. So that's what the prototype is, but what makes it so special? Well, during that same VHS tape, we also hear how the prototype takes apart an alarm clock and uses it to make a laser pointer. In short, it's smart and it's able to repurpose things, which would explain Mommy's concern in this moment.
What have you done? You make me part of you!
She's gonna be reused and repurposed by this entity in order to help the monster escape. Kinda makes you wonder if the veins and bones were how this creature was originally designed, or maybe that's what happened to all the other missing employees. Their bodies were added to the machine. It's interesting. In our last theory, we predicted that Mommy Longlegs would be adding the bodies of dead toys to herself in order to become stronger. We were right about the concept, just looks like we were wrong about who it applied to. As for how this thing is gonna wind up looking, anyone remember Sid from Toy Story 1? Sounds like we might have found one of his creations. So right now it looks like the prototype 1006 is gonna be our overarching villain for the franchise, taking pieces and parts of the other toys, and maybe even pieces and parts of other people to grow stronger. That being said, one toy that doesn't appear to have been added to the prototype yet is Huggy Wuggy.
Right.
He may not have appeared explicitly in this chapter, but hints of him are...
Yeah, but like there's so many Huggy-esque things in that area. Like there's like, it gotta be like 100 of them in that pipe.
Hidden around. When you go into the chapters,
What makes Huggy special
if
here?
you look carefully, you can see some blue
Final boss amalgamation from every boss fought before. Yeah, true.
Blood. This appears to be the room that Huggy fell through at the end of the last chapter, and would seem to imply that Huggy picked himself up and went full-on sus mode by venting away, waiting to return until a future chapter. Which honestly makes sense. He can't die yet. He's basically the mascot of the franchise. Who even cares about Poppy at this point? I mean, me. I do, because lore, but I feel like I'm definitely in the minority on that one. Speaking of Poppy, let's talk about her, shall we? I mean, it is her name on the title screen, after all. This isn't Kissy Missy Playtime or Cat Bee Playtime.
I mean, I care about her even more than ever now because of the fact that he said that her eyes are actual human eyes and not like glassy whatever. That's freaky.
Well, mere hours after Chapter 2 came out, the fan community did what the fan community gonna do. They dug into the game files. And by doing so, they discovered an early build of this chapter hidden away. And while the game itself is still basically the same, the end is where things get real interesting. Normally, you get on the train and Poppy gives you this sinister speech about how you're not allowed to leave. She betrays us and sends us hurtling deeper into the factory for reasons that are kept pretty darn vague.
Terrible things have happened. But I know that whatever I need you to do, you're capable.
However, in the cut version of this monologue, we actually get a bit more detail on her motivations.
You have so much potential. I know you came to find the ones who had disappeared all those years ago. But they're gone. They've been gone for a long time. Terrible things have happened. And I am the cause. Being able to exist as a doll, it has killed so many people.
Now, interpreting cut content is always going to be a tricky science.
What potential?
Do you use it? Do you not?
Oh, right. We're saying this was not actually in the chapter, right? This was something that was like put in, they may be removed. So much potential. I know you came to find the ones who disappeared all those years ago, which is the other employees, because we're the ex-employee that left and came back. They're gone. They've been gone for a long time. Terrible things have happened, and I am the cause. Being able to exist as a doll, it has killed so many people. But are they dead, or are they transformed? Or how many of them are transformed? Or yeah, maybe they're all just sacrificed because the experiments are something that takes a lot more effort from the scientists.
How do you use it? Here, I'm only pointing it out because this seems to confirm one of our original theories, that Poppy is the reason all of this is happening. She literally says that because she was able to exist as a doll, people died, which tells us two things. One, that she's been around since the very beginning. She knows about the experimentation that's being done on humans. She's witnessed it all.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
Nice. Yes, FNAF, we hear you.
Okay.
You're very special. You did it first. Secondly, though, it seems to tell us that Poppy isn't who we originally thought. Loyal theorists will remember that last time we predicted that former employee Stella Graber was the person whose body and spirit were used to build Poppy. In Chapter 1, we found a VHS tape talking about her desire to stay young and her love of children, which all but seemed to scream, "Make me into an undying doll monster." However, after the clues seeded out in this chapter, we know for a fact that she's no longer a candidate. When we first enter the game station, we're greeted by Stella's voice.
Hi kids, welcome to the game station. I'm Stella, and we've got 3 super duper fun games to play.
Her name also appears on the bottom of a document outlining how to test children using the various game station modules. Quote, give all reports.
I was thinking like, why is this, what's disqualifying Stella? Because couldn't Stella have, because she was around, let's say in the 60s or something, and then she gets transformed into this doll, and then we just have a recording of her voice that still gets played. But no, it doesn't really work, because if she was the one monitoring it since the most recent time that the place was open, which assumedly would be at least in the 80s, because that's when Huggy Wuggy was made, then it just wouldn't really add up.
To sort through. So Stella was clearly involved with whatever experimentation was going on at Playtime Co. And since these experiments were started because the living doll Poppy existed in the first place, Stella can't be Poppy. In that same document, we also see references to Mommy Longlegs. Now, if you look closely at the Mommy Longlegs commercial that plays at the top of the chapter, you can see that it's dated 1991. Poppy was meant to be the first living toy developed back in 1950. Therefore, if Stella was alive around the time of Mommy Longlegs, then she couldn't possibly be inside Poppy. So if Poppy isn't Stella, then who is she? Well, early in Chapter 2, we visit Elliot Ludwig's office, founder of Playtime Co. It's here that we learn that he experienced a tragic family loss sometime in the 1960s.
In the 1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest.
This loss is what spurred him to work harder and build an empire around his toys. Now, it's not actually clear who this family member was. You would suspect his kid, right? Kid dies or is dying and he finds a way to make her into a living toy. Yeah, I am broken. I will put you back together. Thank you, FNAF. Go and do something else with your life.
This man is ruled by the FNAF.
Stop trying to butt into other people's narratives, okay? Other people's very...
I mean, to be fair, even I, when I started playing, was kind of like, oh, I haven't seen a ton in this direction, but I saw FNAF, I played some of them, whatever. Like, they're, animatronics, souls, all that stuff. There's a little bit of a tie-in. There's got to be some influence here.
Anyway, as I was saying, you would suspect that he's doing this for his kid, right? And that's who Poppy is. It's his daughter. But
particularly this Poppy character looks like baby.
But rather the
I can't help myself.
You see, we know via a newspaper article hidden on the About
section of
Playtime Company's merch website that Elliot's wife divorced him in 1930. This means that if a child came from that
I have not seen the second FNAF movie. I gotta watch it.
Been in their 20s or 30s when Poppy was created. It seems a bit old, to be honest. The loss could have been a grandchild. That's definitely a possibility. possibility. But for me, I think the most likely option was that it was an adopted daughter. In Chapter 1, we see a lot of posters hanging on the walls talking about Playtime Co.'s adoption initiative. What if that program was initially started because Elliot had an adopted child himself, and he wanted to bring that joy to other families, thereby modeling it in those Playtime Company values?
Okay, so yeah, and Elliot's that makes sense because he's the guy at the top.
Has to find a way to put her back together. So his adopted child
let's say for now.
And he tries something to revive her, probably by fusing her with Poppy. And it works. Something he does works. She's in the doll, but he's not exactly sure what he did. Might I suggest trying Remnant or Agony? Sorry, not on my way to do it. Anyway, we know that he's unsure based on a note that we find in Elliot's office in Chapter 2. This note talks about Experiment 814, in which they try to bring rats back to life using the Poppy flower.
Yeah.
My suspicion is that this is because he was somehow able to revive his daughter inside of Poppy, a doll who we're told has the essence of poppy flower built into her hair. This is also why we find Poppy hidden in a glass case. It's so his daughter can be preserved, protected, and also studied. It's because he saw it was possible, and then he went on to repeat it, which is why he's so happy about his wonderful Experiment 1.
How many games do you know of FNAF? Security Breach, Ruin the Mimic. I mean, mainly, when I was really into it, I would say FNAF 1 through... FNAF 1 through, I guess Security Breach is probably towards the latter end, but before that, yeah, like somewhere in that area. I don't know if FNAF, those later ones I'm a little less familiar with.
006, the prototype. After nearly 200 additional experiments post Poppy Flowers and Rats, this is where he finally cracks the code. He's brought things to life, but the prototype is too smart. It escapes.
Oh yeah, I was trying to think of the sister location. I think I stayed really into it and still sister location, and then after that point, I watched Security Breach to an extent, and then more came out, and at that point, I didn't follow as much, but I'm aware of the things to an extent.
Orders, sending the factory into chaos.
Tons of references to games, of course,
why we hear that Huggy Wuggy is actually the perfect creation, because he's smart, but he's also obedient.
Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy, remains the optimal outcome due to his sufficient intelligence paired with maximum obedience.
And that, my friends, is the story of how everything started at Playtime Co. We now know that Elliot Ludwig's adopted daughter is likely the entity inside the Poppy doll, and that our overarching villain for the series is the prototype, the first successful recreation of that technology, of bringing something back to life. A toy that steals and uses the pieces and parts of other things to make itself stronger. But there's still lots more to discover here. Who or what is inside the other toys? Are they employees or are they something else? What about the mysterious death screens that we see each time we die? What are they trying to tell us? If people are inside of toys, then what about the prototype? Is it someone important, or is it just a random collection of people? And probably the biggest question of all, who are we in relation to all of this? I suspect that I may have figured out our character's name and possible role in the company, but answers to that and more will have to wait for next time, just because I have a few other things that I want to double check inside the game first. So make sure you grab
Okay. So I was wondering, like, where do we go from here? Because I know the first one's just the trailer. This one's like the full thing for Chapter 2. So like, what's after this before Chapter 3? It looks like it's like a part 2 is the kind of thing. So we'll finish off with this one. We'll see what he has to say. I mean, about who our character is especially might be pretty interesting.
Oh, goody. Another juicy fly for my web. It's been so long since I've had a decent snack.
Actually, I like this intro. This intro's actually kind of good. The last one I was like, I'm cringing a little bit, but it's cool.
Rejects. They were just scrap fodder for the pile. They're far greater threats here than you realize. You will make a fine addition. Join.
Yeah, the prototype is just this mush pile. But we don't really know. Yeah, I guess we don't really know what they're gonna look like.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory.
We'll skip past the recap portion, I think.
Under Elliot Ludwig, a girl who died tragically sometime in the 1960s.
How confirmed is that? I mean, I feel like in terms of theories right now, the daughter of Elliot is the theory because his daughter died, I'm thinking maybe is confirmed, and then presumably he would try to revive her, and that's what Poppy is the idea.
He managed to revive her inside the Poppy doll, but was unsure of how he did it. This led to thousands of experiments where he tried to harness the power of poppy flowers to bring toys to life. Experiment 1006 would be the one to prove successful, giving rise to a new type of living toy, the prototype. This monster made up the other half of that previous theory, as we looked into the big pointy-clawed beast. It's an experiment that we're told is smarter and more dangerous than any other experiment in the factory. Considering we've been up against this...
Yeah, that thing was...
And this... him being that much smarter doesn't really bode too well for us. But talking about these two is only...
A lot of fake videos of people playing the next chapter at the time that would be upcoming just changed maps, recolored characters, so much fake. Really? That's interesting. I guess the game was really popular, or it still is really popular. It was so popular at the time, people... Like, yeah, people were saying, here's chapter 3. That's crazy. Or I guess they could say, oh, this is like a playtest, that's a private beta playtest, but I got access to it and I'm showing it to you. Maybe they could try to do that, even if it's not. That's interesting. Finish current chapter and search for the next upcoming one. You'd see those fakes, yeah.
The surface of what's really happening.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. Maybe
toys made from. Who are we?
They do that with anime all the time, but I
gotta focus. Similar to FNAF, and why is a caterpillar dog with elf feet so disturbing to the very core of my being?
Well, that guy was tough.
Answers to all these questions and more. All right, maybe not the last two, but definitely the first couple. And by the end of today's episode, we'll be that much closer to figuring out all the twists and turns that Poppy has planned. Spoiler alert! I think that we might be the true villain of this whole narrative. Let's start to make
I'm kind of hopeful that we're not. I like it's a fine twist and it can certainly exist, but I feel like a part of me was like, I don't know who we are, therefore we're the great big bad who's secretly whatever because we can't look ourselves in the mirror. But like I feel like it's sort of it's the same tier of twist as like it was all a dream in my mind. Maybe not, I don't think that's probably what this is necessarily, but like that twist is it's hard not to be like, oh, it turned out it was all a dream, But it could be done well, obviously, even if it is the case. But
originally, we suspected that the flesh and blood of
Leaks Chapter 3 was crazy at the time. Yeah, sure.
Now chasing us around the factory. I mean, look at all the blood in this place, and usually it's found alongside a broken toy. Plus, as Huggy Wuggy falls into the abyss at the end of Chapter 1, he leaves blood splatter on all the pipes that he hits on his way down. Combine that with our theory that Stella was inside a Poppy, and boom, you got yourself a recipe for the most gruesome company health plan ever. However, Chapter 2 seems to be pulling us in a different direction. Once you defeat Mommy Longlegs and get back to the game station to free Poppy, you can find 2 notes on either side of the control panel. One is about a scientist complaining about the lack of natural light in the lab, which, let me tell ya, as someone who literally locks himself in a closet to work on episodes, totally get that. Hashtag relatable. But it's the second note that I want us to pay attention to. It starts off...
I'm just throwing this out there. This guy's a millionaire. Why is he putting himself in closets? What's this narrative? Okay. Whenever I see this, I'm always like, what are you talking about? What are you talking? You don't need to be in a closet. All right. Anyway.
Harmless enough. Just a list of
employees
working on the game station floor. Quote, start by reporting to the control station. Always keep a minimum distance of 20 yards.
I think, what are the closet jokes about? I think the point of them is just to be like, I'm like you guys type of thing, or like I'm, I don't know, like it's like a relation thing, but there's no way. Why would you put I guess you could have a recording booth that's pretty tight, and you think of it like a closet, maybe.
The train will arrive with the children at 8 a.m. All children will be gathered inside the game station all at once. The order of the games will be musical memory, whack-a-wuggy, then statues. A series of bridges and doors from a control station should guide you to each game, end quote. I mean, it's all pretty straightforward stuff, but it's the last section where my theorist senses really start to prick up. Quote again, only one child should ever play a game at a time. Children who are not playing a game will wait in the game station. There's playground equipment to keep them entertained. Record each child's performance as it's relevant to each game. Music memory, composure memory, pattern recognition, whack-a-wuggy, hand-eye coordination, and reaction times, statues, agility, strength, and speed. Once the children have left for the day, return to the control station, give all reports to Ms. Stella Graber to sort through, end quote. The children weren't just playing any old games, these games were specifically designed to test children and monitor their skills. And that's not all. When you break out the statues game, you can actually find 2 of these reports hidden inside the room for a child named Michaela Hyssop. Each proctor goes goes through and explains how Michaela performed in each task. Quote, she has a good grasp on the concept and decent performance, but Michaela made mistakes on several of the color patterns. In her second attempt, she was making noticeable improvements. Quote again, Michaela is very accurate and fast. Few mistakes were made. You can actually see this improvement reflected in her scores, going from 331 to 434. However, notice what's written right at the top of the page. Underneath the child's name, the name of the proctor, is another category, assigned toy. For
what?
Candy cat. Now, why would you need to assign a specific toy to each individual child? Unless, of course, you needed that child to have some kind of deep connection with the toy.
Candy cat, question mark?
Supernatural purpose, like say turning the child into
right.
the toy.
So that makes sense.
Like something that happened in an indie horror game. And look at this. Right at the start of the chapter, we find this note in Elliot Ledwig's office that talks about his experiments with dead rats and using the poppy flower to try and revive them. According to the document, it doesn't work. We talked about all that last episode. However, something we didn't mention last episode was that at the end of the note, Elliot leaves us with this parting thought. Quote, perhaps something larger than a rat would yield different results. And so it all begins to fit together. The testing of the kids, assigning them a toy.
Okay.
Not for their own betterment. It's in order to provide larger subjects for Elliot's experiments. He isn't stuffing his employees into toys to bring them to life. He's using children. Oh, come on. Just when I thought we would get through an episode without a FNAF reference. But that's not all, because Poppy Playtime saw FNAF's dead kids and said, hold my remnants. Because if stuffing kids wasn't bad enough, these aren't just any children, they're orphans.
Right.
Start of statues before we even see any of these child testing papers.
This sequence was so good. Like watching the TV and having it creep up next to the TV. Like I didn't have to watch TV. I could have been looking anywhere else, but of course I'm looking at the TV. But I'm not, because it's optional, I'm not thinking about that he might be in the corner of my vision in this spot. Oh, it's so good.
It was always so sad to see the kids. They called me mommy because I was the closest thing they ever had to one.
Right.
But they come for games and never come back.
They called me mommy because I was the closest thing they ever had to one. All right, let me level with you. First off, I think they called you mommy because, you know, that's literally the name of your toy. We see the commercial at the very beginning of the chapter. You've also spent the entire game talking about yourself.
Hold on. I mean, I guess is the implication that maybe the toy was sold after the character existed or something? Because the character could have been created and then the children could have played with the character, called the character mommy, and then they could have designed the toy off the creature, maybe? But that, I mean, yeah, it does seem like it would happen in the other order.
So none of this should be a shock to you. But you know what?
Chicken or egg situation, yeah.
Right. If this Dayglow pink,
like her implication is that she's
to a mom, then yeah,
the
chances are
egg. She's the first one.
This also directly aligns with the posters that we see throughout the factory. Posters that explicitly talk about Playtime Co.'s adoption program for orphans. In Chapter 2, it says, quote, Playtime Co. harbors a state-of-the-art education program for all orphan children. These children being tested are orphans. That's why, despite there being literally hundreds of experiments, notice that the experiment numbers go from the 800s all the way to the thousands.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right. Oh, he didn't notice that in the first one because he could have noticed that, right? Like, isn't this note from the first chapter? And then we know that there are experiments from up to like 1006 and then 1006 at the very least. So couldn't he have determined that if there's 1006 and there's 814 here, that means that there's at least a couple hundred of them and not just 6? Or was this not in chapter 1? I don't know.
I mean, heck, even Freddy's had to close after 5. This also
I wonder if anyone came to that conclusion
death screen
at the time.
Nobody is here by choice. Yeah, these kids didn't choose to be here, to be adopted by the company or turned into toys. And I'm sure at this point,
because now we know that it's not like it started at 1000 and went to 1006. There's kind of an implication that there's 1000 experiments before that. No, like, and it's not that surprising too. Like, until you figure out how to actually produce something that is special, you'd probably experiment in all kinds of ways. So there's tons of things that probably just didn't work that were experiments. So maybe there are at least 1,170 experiments, but the ones that work are probably mostly in that 814 through 1,170 or whatever it is.
Well aware of the fates that are worse than death.
Prototype isn't the first one, ironic. Yeah, it would seem like that's got to be the case. Right, yeah, 1006.
I'm convinced that these death screens are Poppy talking to us. At the end of the chapter, she says that she has plans for us and prevents us from escaping on the train. This perfectly lines up with death screens like, you can die later. This isn't about you, and I still have plans for you. However, Chapter 2 introduces a new mechanic into the death screens. You see, while those that I've already mentioned all end with a flash of white, there are others that end with an ominous red screen.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Screens is even in a secret code like the one that we had in Chapter 1. I guess this is just a thing that they do now. Last time we deciphered the code to give us the phrase, stay, they need help. Fortunately, the new one in Chapter 2 uses a few of the same letters. In fact, the first word in this new code is exactly the same as one from the other code. They, followed by an apostrophe and 2 more letters. The second of which is also an E, so this is very clearly there. The next 2 words get a little trickier as they contain letters that we haven't seen before, but after a bit of analysis and trial and error, I managed to decipher the whole thing to read, they're just hungry. This, on its own, doesn't really tell us anything new, but when you start to combine it with the other
they're just hungry
messages, it starts to paint a bigger picture. The prototype has saved us. Isn't he wonderful? He is loose. This is an emergency lockdown. Innovation is key. May we forget death. This is no longer Poppy talking to us. She's horrified by the creation of these monsters using human test subjects. She doesn't like what's going on in the factory.
Right.
These are the messages of someone else. Someone so obsessed with overcoming death that they can't see past the issue with their own experiments. They're just hungry? That feels like the excuse of one of those parents that believes that their child can't do any wrong. Except, you know, they're talking about a giant human-consuming erector set monster. These messages must be coming from either Elliot himself, the man who after the death of his daughter put his heart and soul into creating his toy empire.
Well, who else? There's Laith Pierre, right?
Employees who believed in the cause.
We don't know anything about Laith yet. We see a lot of Laith. There's Stella.
But why us?
There's Rich Avery, but he wouldn't do that. I think Rich Avery hates this whole situation.
In fact, why did we feel so?
There's the scientist.
To the factory in the first place? I know we got ourselves a note saying that missing people were still here, but just not convinced that any minimum wage employee is gonna risk their lives in a factory where people mysteriously went missing 10 years ago. And when the giant Huggy suddenly went missing from the main atrium in the first chapter, yeah, most people are gonna nope straight out of there. Yet here we are facing monster after monster, fighting for our lives, determined to see this thing through. Why? I've actually been thinking about this since Chapter 1, but at the time I just didn't have enough to give a definitive answer. Then here we are in Chapter 2, and Mommy says this.
But you worked here. So if anyone deserves to die alone, it's you.
How does she know that we worked here unless she recognizes us? We know, thanks to tapes from people like Marcus Brickley, that most employees weren't aware that the factory was
Marcus.
these giant little boys.
How could I forget? I'm looking at this. Marcus Brickley. Maybe it's because there's a U instead of an A for Marcus, but I think you also can't really read the bottom half. Okay, I see very easily. Marcus Brickley. It's a bit icy.
I took a peek beneath the gate, and some massive bloody thing was doddering about the bloody hallway.
Thing? You're sure it wasn't a person?
Ain't no person that's 50 feet long with 1,000 legs.
Marcus, you're losing me. Maybe you just saw a bunch of people walking by.
Look, it wasn't people, alright? I haven't a bloody notion what it was, but I wasn't human.
Plus, in front of the emergency exit that you find after falling through the vent, there's a note from Eddie M.N. Ritterman that also confirms this. Quote, this project should only be known about by those with the authority at Warrenbach and those with authority at Playtime. So, for Mommy to recognize us as an employee, we need to be someone with the authority to be involved in the experimentation. She's shown to be aware of the scientists throughout the factory thanks to a note that we find in the water treatment area. This note discusses experiment 1222, aka Mommy Longlegs. And in this note, we learn that she's being hostile to scientists working there. The note ends with, quote, have her transferred to high security maintenance immediately. Conditioning can begin. We also hear about suppression treatments from the VHS tape about 1006. But as we know in indie horror games, conditioning is never a painless process.
Let's encourage baby to cheer up with a controlled shock.
I promise, I'm really not trying to make this game sound more and more like FNAF. This stuff just kind of writes itself. If Mommy was being conditioned by these people, it would make sense that she feels like we deserve to die alone. I'm not sure I'd be too happy to see my torturer alive again either. So if we're not just some employee at the factory, are we a scientist then? One of the many people working on the experiments? No. And we know this based on this room. Just after you chase Mommy and Poppy down a giant hole, you wind up...
Yeah, this room, I was wondering, he didn't talk about it in the first chapter, which is kind of funny. Was this not in the first chapter? Elliot Ludwig, Stella. Oh yeah, there's Stella Graber, and then you, Keith. I can't read that quite well.
This room actually has a number.
Oh, Laith Pierre, right? And then Eddie NHR. Eddie. I mean, there's Ritterman, but this is someone else, maybe.
slides in it, each one with the name of a high-ranking member of
Oh wait, NH could be middle initials, 2 middle initials, then Riddleman.
Just came out of the
That could be
slide
it.
with the name Elliot Ludwig above it, who we already know is the creator, founder, and CEO. The other slides have the names Leith Pierre, Eddie MNR, and Stella Graber. We were first introduced to Leith Pierre right at the very beginning of Chapter 1.
Hi, my name is Leith Pierre, and I'm the head of innovation here at the Playtime Co.
Is this the one I missed?
Voice is the person interviewing Marcus.
I missed the first one. Okay.
What happened?
You see, I was heading home for the day when my apars realised that I left me bloody wallet in the cafeteria. So I'm running through the lobby, and that's when I see it. A mop handle lodged under the innovation wing gate.
Now, what Marcus said there might seem insignificant, but it's not. It's Jacksepticeye. Of course, he's going to be important for the lore. Before jumping into the hole after Mommy and Poppy, if you look around, you can actually see 5 corridors that lead to different wings of the factory.
Innovation.
Game station and innovation. 5 slides, 5 different wings to the factory. So if this is truly a center point leading to all the different wings, and all the slides lead from high-ranking members' offices, it would stand to reason that each name is associated with a different wing of the factory. For example, one of the wings is labeled Play Place, which sounds very similar to where Chapter 3 has taken place, Play Care. We know that Stella is someone with authority at Playtime, as she was in charge of sorting through all the orphan kids' test scores, and is therefore the one that would decide which kids move forward on the train headed to the next stop, Play Care, where she could then monitor and begin the experimentation process. And as Stella's voice is heard in the game station, it would lead me to suspect that Stella's in charge of all play elements of the facility, so the Play Place would likely come under her control. This leaves us with 2 moves left, research and production. Eddie MNR is a bit hard to pinpoint as we've only ever had 1 letter from him.
Oh, that's MNR's right there, Ritterman. Okay.
The lab that these experiments are taking place in. As such, it makes the most sense for him to be the head of research, or some similar sort of title, which leaves us then with the production wing. And you see, this is where we come in. You see, there are 4 slides with names that we've already mentioned, but there is one more in the right-hand corner, hidden in shadow.
I didn't notice this.
Fact that this one is our slide. Someone who is high enough at the company to be aware of the living toys, someone important enough for Mommy to recognize, someone with an elite enough title that they got their own tube slide. We are the head of production. We're the ones putting these toys together, using the parts of the children from the game station. And when the toys malfunctioned and needed conditioning, they'd be sent right back to production for us to fix the faulty product.
Oh, you know, it kind of makes sense because it feels like we're building toys. We're always building something, at least so far. First 2 chapters, we build a toy in each chapter to send forward, like being head of production, maybe.
It's the only wing of the factory that's left unaccounted for. It explains our role in the narrative. It explains why Mommy recognizes us and why we're back. To either atone for our sins or to burn the entire place down so no one ever
made the cog,
did here. But that's not the end of it, though. If I'm right, and this is meant to be our slide, we've actually been given a name. I mentioned that the 5th slide has no name above it, but the letters for the sign do seem to be present just on the floor. JAHYEONBAIM. Now, names are hard. They're not normal words. Technically, anything can be a name, and you certainly can't just find into a word on Scrambler to solve it for you. The team and I spent a few hours trying various combinations of letters, and I spent even longer going through both chapters of the game trying to find some kind of a clue to point me in the right direction. Some initials or a document with only a first or last name attached, but
Scrambler site, yeah, true.
I did come up with a couple of possibilities.
Jamie, maybe.
Benjamin Hoey or J Bohemian. Can't say that they're anything definitive. However, there was one that stood out from the rest. One that seemed to fit with the world of this game and with the other names of characters. Ladies and gentlemen, I predict that our character's name is, drumroll please,
It's Jamie. Okay, it's Jamie. Listen.
Honey. Feels like it fits into a toy factory, doesn't it? We are Jamie B. Honey,
Interesting.
the head of production, returning to the factory to try and undo all the wrongs that he and his co-workers
Jamie B.
committed all
Honey.
those years ago. Or, you know, we're trying to make sure that everything stays buried. We were vital to the production of these living toys, turning them from regular plastic and fur into the hellish nightmares that we see. And the future chapters are only going to reveal more monsters. And maybe it'll confirm the...
I mean, okay, the big bad, it doesn't necessarily mean we're the big bad. We could have left because we disagreed with it, or saw where it was headed, and then come back, but we were a part of it. I think that's, I mean, we were an employee there. We're an employee at a monster facility, okay? I guess being evil is not the worst thing in the world, considering, like, it makes sense that we probably took some part in this. But, like, us being the big bad, I don't know.
fact that in this story, the humans were the real monsters all along. But hey, that's just a theory.
I wonder. I'm curious how it'll go. Like, are we going to be the big bad, or are we just going to be, we'll have taken part in it, maybe have some guilt over it, have some conversations, we'll know some of the characters already without, as the audience, knowing that we know them? It's interesting. It's interesting. So, like, from all this, what we can kind of take away, I have a set of characters that I know in terms of the people in the story. We have experiments. We know that there are more than, like, a small handful. There's actually a large number of experiments. Assumedly, there's some main experiments that exist, especially because there's so many. There's going to be so many experiments between Prototype and, like, the first one, like 1,000 experiments. But for anything else, for an ex-employee that's returning... let's see. The experiments are actually alive physically. Like Poppy's eyes might actually be a real person's eyes. I wonder if that part's true. It seems like it is, like based on just the visual of her eyes and some of those shots. Kind of crazy. I only then know chapter 3 is lit. Then I stopped following it at chapter 4 and 5. I have no idea. Well, hey, you'll see it all here if you're interested. So I think, yeah, for now on this one, we'll end it off here. My birthday is beginning in an hour and a half. Will be the beginning of my birthday tomorrow. So I appreciate you guys coming around very much. It's been a fun one. I'm glad to see so many people around. If you want to stick around, if you want to see more, I'll do more breakdowns of this on this channel and on the main channel, on the Deadeye channel. I have a couple channels here. On the main channel, I'll do more just playing through. So we'll do a chapter 3 and then a chapter 3 breakdown. I'm sure sometime upcoming, maybe on Thursday, but I know tomorrow I'm gonna be busy. Thursday, Friday, well, we'll kind of see. I know I have some things planned on Friday already. We'll see how it goes. But thanks so much for coming around. I very much appreciate you. I will end off on YouTube. Holy cow, it's cool. It's cool with YouTube to have. I have a couple different streams going at once, and so it's definitely a time. Poppy Playtime lore. Yeah, well, yeah. So we did some lore for chapter 1 and 2, and we will do chapter 3's lore after chapter 3 itself, and we'll just kind of like we'll push through just like that. But yeah, we know a little bit more. It does seem like that we're going to learn a lot more in 3, 4, I mean, assumedly 5, I suppose. Chapter 1 was kind of shorter, so it's really chapter 2 where we got the bulk of the info, I feel like. I have a lot of names, honestly. I think matching name to meaning, our character being one of them, the angry guy, Rich Avery, like, how much... is this an important character? Is this just like an early character to learn that there were people that disgruntled at the company? You know, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, man. I appreciate you if you come to YouTube. Eventually, I'll be able to raid you guys in other directions. You can join even more streams and kind of get to know more people and whatever. But for now, my stream is too small, too few subscribers to raid just yet. So we'll just run it off here. But yeah, again, thanks so much. I'll see you hopefully in the next couple days here. For tomorrow, we just enjoy the good old birthday. All right. Have a good night, or a good morning, or a good afternoon, or good good time. Later on YouTube. All right. Thanks so much.